All of the major news stories made simple and easy for your listening pleasure. We'll break it down for you in keywords. For the segment, we're joined by Adam. Good morning. It's not a good morning.
Excuse me. Good morning, Lena.
I do make a point. Are you ever well rested before coming into the studio?
Apparently not.
The thing is, you're not alone, and I didn't mean to single you out. I think many Seoulites are prone to sleepless nights, especially during these humid and hot months. It gets tricky.
Yeah, and I'm fearing my electricity bill because I'm turning the air conditioning on all night. And
but
I
does
think
that
that's
actually...
where the dry throat comes from.
Oh, you can't win, can you? But I mean, we'll get to the kinds of food that we're apparently supposed to avoid before going to bed. Is there something you eat in the evening that might be disrupting sleep?
I don't think so, because I don't tend to eat before I go to sleep.
Okay.
My dinner, lately, I've been trying to have no later than 6 p.m.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I do apologize for making my judgments. It was very hasty.
That's fine. No, I have in the past eaten just before I go to bed. So, yes, your judgment is partially right. But, it's interesting, that topic, because I've actually been watching YouTube videos and stuff to avoid eating before bed, and stuff that you should eat when you wake up.
What should I eat if I want a restful night?
What should you eat if you want a restful night?
Glass of milk?
Apparently cherries are quite good.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into it. See, everybody has health tips to share.
And things that don't
help with sleeping.
Things that probably do help with sleeping as well. Apparently apples as well. In Korea, that's a myth buster that I'm going to have right now.
Yeah.
There's a myth in Korea that eating apples in the evening is bad for you. But it's complete opposite. It's actually scientifically proven to be actually beneficial. I wanted to bust that myth.
It's so funny because there will be a scientist who will come forward and say, no, it's still more beneficial in the morning. Anyhow, thanks for that tip.
Yeah, well, an apple a day, keeps the doctors away any time of the day.
That's right. You're a poet. You didn't even know it. All right, we're going to shift our focus to keyword news. We're going to have to start out with our COVID-19 coverage as always. This is our first keyword of the day.
Delta surge.
Korea's COVID-19 situation is getting worse by the day with Delta variant cases on the rise. So let's take a look at the latest figures.
Yeah, really not looking that good at the moment. Getting worse. It's hit yet another fresh high on Wednesday. The uptick is mostly being blamed on the rise in Delta cases, which has now surpassed that of the previous dominant Alpha variant. The swift spread of the variant has prompted the government to actually acknowledge that it had been a bit too lax with its judgments through last month. It was kind of downplaying the Delta variant, saying that the cases was quite low compared to other countries, but with the high transmissibility of the Delta variant, that soon turned out to be wrong. And this also came at a time when the government was trying to ease distancing rules as well. And health authorities have warned that daily cases may rise to the mid-2000s in mid-August, especially in time with the summer vacation and a lot of people traveling. Now, in the past week, the number of Delta cases has doubled and now accounts for nearly 63% of total infections. We mentioned yesterday that it's about 2/3 of the variant infections. 3 out of every 10 confirmed cases domestically involved a variant, not just the Delta. Nearly 2/3 of them are the Delta variant, as I said. And this 23.3% detection rate for the Delta variant was more than double the 9.9% rate that was calculated the week before.
Because we do take sample sizes as opposed to, testing everybody.
Yeah, and that is quite a jump. And in the Greater Seoul area, the detection rate rose by 12.1% to 26.5%. So it is still concentrated in the capital region, another area for concern.
All right, we're going to move on to our second keyword of the day.
Car protests.
Because protests are not allowed in the Greater Seoul area, it is under the highest level 4 restrictions. It has angered many small business owners. And although these rallies were not allowed, they did show their opposition by staging demonstrations inside their cars, which is technically not allowed either.
It's technically not allowed either. And technically, a lot of them were outside their cars as well, if you look at the pictures. And the business owners did take to the streets of Yeouido last night to protest the level 4 measures and the government's compensation plan for them, or lack thereof, as they're claiming. They are demanding the government pull back the level 4 rules and gathering ban, as well as provide sufficient compensation for revenue losses. Now, police have called the protests illegal and were seen cracking down on the demonstrators. not violently, but they're trying to block the cars from going to their planned route. The business owners had to change their press conference venue as well due to police restrictions. And mass rallies under level 4 are banned at the moment. As you said, only one-person demonstrations are allowed. It doesn't matter if you're that one person in the car isolated from everyone else. It is still a mass gathering. This is what the police kept telling the business owners, but they didn't back down. And the car rally eventually ended at about 1 a.m. And
so they also broke curfew. Okay.
They also broke curfew, and it started as well after the curfew hours. So it was a bit of a problem. Yeah, but you kind of got to understand both sides, though. I mean, these business owners, they were kind of looking forward to these ease distancing rules anytime soon, and then it just jumped to the highest level.
Right.
They were struggling already, and so, yes, I understand their point of view.
Right.
The way they're expressing it, maybe not the best option.
And it may cause problems.
Yeah.
However, as you've said, I think it is fair to look at both sides. What is prompting them to actually risk their own health in question too, to come out so late into the evening? How frustrated are they? And should there be relief from the government's perspective?
Exactly. And there's been the level 4 is, I think, not as... they're not really angered so much by the level 4. They're angered more about the compensation or lack thereof, that they're saying the compensation of revenue losses that the government is currently deliberating on, apparently, because of these level 4 measures. But in the current way, apparently each business owner is only getting about 600,000 won, which is definitely not enough to cover any of the sales losses and revenue losses.
It's less than $600.
Exactly. So, at the moment, it's pretty insufficient at the moment. But apparently the government is working on a revision for that.
All right. Here's another bone to pick. Let's talk about the vaccine situation in the country. This is our third keyword of the day.
Vaccine reservations.
So vaccine appointments for the 55 to 59 age group has resumed, but as expected, the demand was high. There were technical glitches. It does call into question insufficient supply. Run us through the details.
Yeah, it was kind of widely expected
I believe
be high in demand, and these technical glitches as well, because, the service can only take a certain amount of logins at once. But the reservations did resume at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. That time, 8 p.m. actually changed so that people can make reservations outside of work. This was to give the 55 to 59s another chance to sign up after an early shutdown in bookings prevented many from applying on Monday. That shutdown, the KDCA explained, was a preemptive measure to prevent any vaccine shortage. But within 3 hours of opening on Wednesday, some 400,000 reservations were made. There were also some technical problems, as you said, with servers being overloaded, with too many people logging in at once. That actually happened before the actual opening of the reservations. So there were technicians were quick to try and alleviate that problem. Now, the newly opened reservations will last until 6 p.m. July 24th, that is next Saturday. Younger people are also rushing to sign up for leftover Pfizer vaccine doses as well, made available this month. Some people are even taking time off work to hurry to get the shot, something known as pancha, which is half a day off in Korea. So they're open in the afternoon, they pop up, and then they basically say, yep, I'm off to get my vaccine.
So they're on standby, essentially using half of their days waiting for these leftover vaccines to pop up.
Yeah. But unfortunately, only a few people have succeeded in reserving these spare doses because the demand does far outweigh the supply still at the moment.
I think vaccine hesitancy is almost virtually non-existent.
No, not in Korea.
All right, on to our fourth keyword of the day.
U.S. Delta crisis.
Turning to the pandemic situation in the U.S. this time, there's been a resurgence there as well that can be explained by the Delta variant. So what's the latest?
This Delta variant is really causing a problem globally, isn't it? I mean, the COVID-19 curve in the U.S. is rising again. That happens after months of decline, with a number of new cases per day doubling over the past 3 weeks. Now, this has been driven by the fast-spreading Delta variant, as well as lagging vaccination rates and also 4th of July gatherings as well. Now, a cluster of Midwestern and Southern states have emerged as a new center of COVID-19 outbreaks. Those are kind of areas where vaccinations tend to be quite low. The uptick also comes as life in much of the U.S. has actually started to return to near normal, with many restrictions having been lifted. If that's a message of saying it's too early to lift the restrictions, Who knows? Now, even with the latest surge, cases in the US are actually nowhere near their peak of 250,000 per day that we saw in January over there.
That's a fair point.
And deaths are running at under 260 per day on average after topping out at more than 3,400 over the winter. So the numbers are still quite low.
Okay.
Still, amid the rise, health authorities in places such as Los Angeles County, St. Louis, they're all begging even immunized people to resume wearing masks in public as a precaution.
All right, let's also take a look at the situation. Indonesia, is also becoming the new hotspot of infections in Asia. What's the latest in Indonesia?
Yeah, Indonesia reported more than 54,000 new coronavirus cases for the first time on Wednesday. It surpasses recent daily infections in India, the previous kind of epicenter in Asia, whose disastrous outbreak is actually declining now. A month ago, daily cases were running at about 8,000 in Indonesia, so that is quite a jump. Now, officials fear that the more highly transmissible Delta variant is now spreading from the islands of Java and Bali. More than 90,000 of the 120,000 hospital beds for COVID-19 patients are occupied, and it seems like they're going to run out soon. The government is also struggling to acquire enough vaccines to reach its target of inoculating more than 181 million of its 270 million population by March 2022. So far, only 15.6 million people have been fully vaccinated. And of course, Indonesia is not that well off of a country. So this whole question of vaccine disparity among the economies also comes into play.
This is why potentially Pfizer's booster shot is under scrutiny, because we could better use those resources to countries that haven't been able to give even the first shots, perhaps. Indonesia included, but not limited to them.
Right.
All right, on to our fifth keyword of the day.
New Deal investment.
All right, turn to Korea's New Deal policy 2.0, if you will. The government is planning to expand investment in the plan. More money. What's in store?
Sorry, I just every time someone puts a 2.0 on everything, I just cringe.
Does that bother you?
Yeah, it's kind of really Silicon Valley talk, and it's just
and it feels kind of old school Silicon Valley. And when a term feels outdated, it does make you cringe a little bit. But the point is crystal clear.
Yeah, I mean,
it's been improved.
Yeah, it's been improved. I mean, yeah, that's just me, and just wanted to put that out there.
All right.
But the expanded investment plan is aimed at creating more jobs and to better prepare for the post-pandemic era when that will come. Who knows? Hopefully soon. Now, under the New Deal 2.0 initiative, the government will invest 220 trillion won in pushing for digital and green energy projects. Those seems to be the two. There's four, and those seem to be the top two, as well as in promoting this inclusive economic growth by 2025. So trying to narrow that economic disparity gap. Now, that's up from its earlier investment plan of 160 trillion won. The government hopes that the upgraded plan will create around 2.5 million jobs by the year 2025 from its earlier target of 1.9 million jobs. Now, the government wants to especially help younger people find work as well, and also increase the quality of work that people are getting. Now, the country plans to invest around 49 trillion won in digital projects by 2025 in a bid to nurture new growth engines in that field. For the new Green New Deal, the government plans to spend more than some 61 trillion won to bolster green industries and eco-friendly projects. That's part of all this goal of going carbon neutral within a few years' time. Yeah.
All right. So it's supposed to all overlap, right?
Yeah.
Green and digital new projects, as opposed to creating new jobs for these young people, as I say, to ensure that these jobs in the future are more sustainable.
It is a very ambitious plan. Whether they'll be able to realize those goals is yet to be seen, but it is a plan nonetheless.
It's a blueprint. It guides us in that general direction.
Yeah.
All right, on to our sixth keyword of the day.
More oil supply.
Okay. The United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia reportedly ended an impasse over oil supply policy. So let's take a look at this OPEC Plus policy. What's the latest?
Yeah, so reports are suggesting that OPEC on Wednesday arrived at a deal after a nearly 2-week standoff over its future oil production levels. Now, the deal was apparently reached after the UAE's baseline was increased to 3.65 million barrels per day from April 2022, the date when the current pact had been scheduled to end. In a statement on Wednesday, though, the UAE Energy Ministry said that a deal with OPEC Plus on its baseline is yet to be reached and that deliberations are continuing, so no confirmations yet. The deal is also provisional and subject to approval at an as-yet unscheduled meeting of the cartel and OPEC Plus. That includes Russia-led producers as well. Russia has been trying to kind of play the mediator between the UAE and Saudi Arabia to try and get a deal signed. Now, the reported compromise should inject a sharp increase of oil supply into an extremely tight market and help ease surging oil prices. We have been seeing oil prices surge recently, but these reports actually led to global oil prices dropping over fears of oversupply. So it's been quite a volatile market because of these reports, but we'll have to see.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for today's coverage. As always, it was insightful. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.